Okay. Well, tos tolchus mór go fáilte bhá chrial géalach a chud chola duine I dú agus go olhaid lasacho. Ha mé dos go córs de chol afers de herróh hadis in trí láchin as a córsted of Wasachin Ma. My name is Rob O'Malley and I am Vice Principal and Head of the College of Arts. And for my sins, I'm also Professor of Gaelic in this university. As I've just said, in Scottish Gaelic, it's a great pleasure to welcome you all to the three-day series of events celebrating the work of poet, essayist and prestigious ambassador of Scottish and Celtic traditions in France, Kenneth White. And may I say that it's a particular honour for me personally to welcome Kenneth White himself back to Glasgow and back to Scotland. Born in Glasgow, Kenneth White was raised on Scotland's west coast in Ayrshire. He studied classical and modern languages, philosophy and literature. He did this in Glasgow, Munich and Paris, and he was awarded a double first in French and German from the University of Glasgow. But from my perspective, and far more importantly, he also studied Scottish Gaelic. I've just heard from Kenneth himself. He studied with a former colleague of mine, now retired, Kenneth MacDonald, a beautiful speaker of West Ross Gaelic. In the 1960s, he settled in France, where he started publishing his poems and autobiographical fiction, which earned him praise from some of the most prestigious French writers at the time, among whom the leader of the Surrealist movement, André Breton. In 1979, he defended a doctoral thesis on the theme of intellectual nomadism at the Sorbonne, which was recognized by the jury as opening up a new field of studies. Several of its concepts, in particular that of geopoetics, have since been used by ecologists, geographers, psychologists and writers in Europe and across the world, where Kenneth White's work has been synonymous with intellectual nomadism. In 1983, BBC Scotland produced a documentary film, Nomad, which celebrated the Glasgow-born poet's achievement as a successful and influential ambassador of Scottish culture in France. This included interviews with both cultural and political French personalities, such as the publisher Jean-Pierre Le Dantec and the former mayor of Paris and future president of France, Jacques Chirac. Kenneth White has had a prestigious career as a writer, as you all know, has been widely translated and holds honorary doctorates, not just from Glasgow, but also Heriot-Watt and the Open University. He is the recipient of several prestigious literary prizes, such as the Prix Médicis, for his book on a journey along the north bank of the St. Lawrence River in Canada, called the Blue Road, and the French Academy's Grand Prix for his work as a whole. From 1983 to 1996, he occupied the chair of 20th century poetics at the Sorbonne. In recent years, Kenneth White has been recognized as one of the most interesting and inspiring writers working anywhere in the world. But he has never forgotten his roots or his Scottish urban and natural landscape, which continues to shape his thinking and poetic writing. He forged friendships with Scottish poets, including Hugh MacDiarmid, while travelling between Scotland and France, sometimes venturing further afield, even as far as the Far East, in search of a unique mental landscape, which remained deeply imbued with what might be termed the Celtic nomad spirit. As he says himself in the documentary film Nomad, when he speaks of Scottish literature in a global context, and I quote, "Scotland itself had this outward thrust, this extravagance, this sense of space and energy. We need only think of these Celtic monks who are all over the place, in Europe, America, and even Asia." End of quote. Like one of these ancient monach, or monks, after settling on the north coast of Brittany in 1983, Kenneth White travelled to Japan, where he followed Basho's trail from Tokyo north into the Hokkaido. This inspired the topic of a second French documentary, Roads to the Deep North, which you will have the opportunity to see tomorrow, I understand, as part of the programme of events organised by the Existential Philosophy and Literature Research Network in collaboration with the Royal Society of Edinburgh, the Alliance Française and the French Institute in Edinburgh, and the Hunterian Art Gallery in the Kelvin Hall. Kenneth White's visit to his alma mater this week provides us with the opportunity to reflect on the things which have changed since his time as a student here, and the events which have shaped the local intellectual landscape, firmly putting Glasgow and the university in a wider global cultural context. Today, modern languages are very much at the centre of the new university's vision for Glasgow as a leading city of culture and the arts. And I, as head of college, have been very, very pleased indeed with the progress made in modern languages and literatures over recent years. The Old Alliance, or the Sean Hartis, as we say in Gaelic, between Scotland and France, and of which Kenneth White is living proof, is also part of this vision and of the expectation, despite Brexit, that Scotland will continue to play an active part on the cultural scene in Europe and far beyond. And so I'm very, very pleased indeed to extend to you this invitation to travel across different languages, cultures and mental landscapes. For, in the words of the French poet Claude Roy, and I quote, "Who could imagine a more pleasant companion than this Scotsman? He has a way of listening to how people talk, or of watching a hawk in the sky that makes you want to get out there and to travel with him." End of quote. As I said, you're very, very welcome to the University of Glasgow. Fáilte vor vlá riel Glasgow, and we talk the I really do hope that you have a fabulous conference over the next 3 days. I'll hand over to Lamar.